Have you ever noticed that some of the kindest people you know are also the ones carrying the heaviest weight? They're the ones who always show up, who always smile, who never hesitate to say yes when someone needs help. But if you look closely, you'll see the tiredness in their eyes. Behind that endless kindness, there's something deeper, something heavier, maybe even something painful. We like to think of kindness as something pure and simple. We teach children to be kind. We admire kindness in leaders, and we measure our own humanity by how much compassion we give. But the truth is, kindness isn't always as light as it seems. Just like everything else in this complicated world, it has a shadow. And when that shadow is ignored, when we pretend it isn't there, kindness itself can slowly turn into something destructive. It begins small. A child learns that being agreeable earns them love. When they put aside their own needs to make others comfortable, they are rewarded with praise, with smiles, with affection they might not have received otherwise. Slowly, kindness becomes survival. And the older they get, the harder it becomes to separate who they are from what others expect them to be. They grow into the reliable one, the good person, the friend who never complains. But when kindness is driven by fear of rejection, or by a desperate need to be valued, it's no longer pure. It becomes a mask. And masks, when worn too long, start to suffocate the soul beneath them. Think about the kind people you know, the ones who listen for hours, who give money they don't have, who sacrifice their own rest just to make sure everyone else is okay. It feels admirable, even saintly. But if you've ever been that person, you know the truth. Behind every act of self-sacrifice lives a quiet resentment, a whisper that says, "What about me?" Yet that voice is often silenced, because chronic kindness comes with an unspoken rule: you're not allowed to put yourself first. Psychologists call it compassion fatigue. It's what happens when someone gives so much of their empathy, so much of their care, that they eventually run dry. And it's not just nurses, teachers, or parents who experience it. Ordinary people, those who live as kind souls every day, carry this risk too. Studies show that people who constantly prioritize others over themselves report higher levels of anxiety, depression, and even physical illness. Because kindness, when unchecked, becomes self-erasure. It's like watering every plant in the garden except your own roots. Eventually, the gardener collapses, and the entire garden withers. Here's the unsettling part. Sometimes kindness itself becomes a weapon, not in the manipulative way we imagine, but in the quieter way, the unconscious way. When you're known as the kind one, people start to expect it. They shape their behavior around it. Without realizing it, your kindness teaches others that your needs are secondary, that your feelings are negotiable. Over time, people stop even asking what you want, because they assume you'll always adjust to them. The kinder you are, the more invisible you become. And invisibility isn't peace, it's loneliness, dressed up in politeness. But none of this means kindness is bad. Genuine kindness is one of the most beautiful forces in the world. The question is, what is it rooted in? Because kindness that flows from abundance heals, but kindness that bleeds from emptiness corrodes. One comes from love, the other from fear. Research proves this. People who can't say no are far more likely to burn out. Altruism increases happiness only when it's voluntary and authentic. But when kindness is driven by guilt, fear, or obligation, it actually lowers happiness and increases stress. And yet, many of us live stuck in this cycle. We don't want to disappoint anyone, so we keep saying yes. We don't want to be seen as selfish, so we keep giving. We don't want to lose love, so we keep sacrificing. But the cost is enormous. You start to lose sight of yourself. You forget what you even want, because your whole identity has been built around serving others. You become a stranger in your own skin. And that's where the monster within is born. Because when you suppress your needs, when you bury your anger, When you silence your boundaries in the name of kindness, those feelings don't disappear. They collect in the shadows. They ferment. And eventually, they erupt in ways you can't control. Maybe it's snapping at someone you love. Maybe it's quiet resentment dripping into your words. Maybe it's years of unspoken pain exploding all at once, leaving you shocked at the person you've become. We like to think kindness protects us from darkness, but kindness without honesty creates the perfect breeding ground for it. Because every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you smile when you want to cry, every time you hold back your truth to keep others comfortable, you're not being kind, you're abandoning yourself. And abandonment always has consequences. Why do we do this? Because we've been conditioned from childhood to believe that kindness equals worthiness. That being agreeable is safer than being authentic. That love must be earned through sacrifice. Many children who grow up in homes where love is conditional, where affection depends on obedience or performance, carry that belief into adulthood. They become adults who confuse people-pleasing with kindness. But true kindness doesn't erase the self. True kindness includes the self. If your kindness is costing you your joy, your peace, your health, then it's not kindness anymore. It's self-neglect dressed as virtue. Neuroscience even backs this up. Our brains are wired for empathy, but when we constantly absorb others' pain without boundaries, we flood ourselves with stress signals. Over time, that leads to exhaustion and collapse. The brain is not built for endless, boundaryless giving. It's built for balance. So the dark side of kindness isn't that kindness is bad. It's that kindness can be twisted by fear, by culture, by old wounds, into something that eats us alive. And when that happens, the very thing we thought was our greatest strength becomes the thing that breaks us. Have you ever felt it? That exhaustion, that quiet resentment, that invisible ache when everyone praises your kindness, yet you feel unseen? If so, you are not broken. You're not defective. What you re-feeling is the cost of living in a world that never taught us how to balance giving with protecting ourselves. This is the hidden monster within, not because you're bad, but because unspoken truths eventually rise up and demand to be heard. So how do we fix it? How do we embrace kindness without letting it destroy us? How do we stay compassionate without turning into martyrs? How do we love others without abandoning ourselves? The answer is uncomfortable, but simple. Kindness must begin with you. If your kindness doesn't include yourself, it isn't truly kindness. It's performance. And performance eventually collapses. Think of the airplane rule. Put your own oxygen mask on first. It feels unnatural, but it's the only way you can help others. If you neglect your own needs, your own rest, your own well-being, your ability to care for anyone else will eventually suffocate. This is where boundaries come in. Boundaries are not rejection. They're not selfishness. Boundaries are honesty. Boundary says, this is what I can give, and this is what I cannot. It says, my love is real, but it cannot exist if I'm empty. It says, I care enough to show you my limits, because without them, my care will rot into resentment. Research even shows that people who set boundaries create deeper, healthier relationships, because their yes is real. Their kindness is authentic. But here's the challenge. Setting boundaries means saying yes to yourself. And that feels uncomfortable when your whole life has equated worth with selflessness. You might lose relationships. Some people won't like it. But those are the relationships built on endless giving, and they were never truly balanced in the first place. There's even a name for kindness gone wrong: pathological altruism. It's when helping others actually causes harm, either to you or to them. When you sacrifice your health to care for others, when your rescuing stops people from ever learning to stand on their own. It looks like kindness, but it creates dependency and exhaustion. This ties into the cultural myth of the good person. We praise those who never complain, who never say no, who always sacrifice. But real goodness isn't about erasing yourself. It's about showing up as your full, authentic self and still choosing compassion. So how do we begin shifting from enslaved kindness to liberated kindness? Start with the pause. When someone asks something of you, don't say yes right away. Take a breath. Check in with your own needs. Second, learn the power of gentle no's. A no doesn't have to be cruel. It can be compassionate. Third, reframe your worth. You are not valuable because of how much you give. You are valuable simply because you exist. Fourth, tend to your own garden. Fill yourself with rest, joy, and the things that bring you alive. Fifth, allow yourself to feel anger, sadness, frustration. These emotions are not enemies of kindness. They are signals that guide you back to balance. Because here's the truth. Many of us wear kindness like a mask, a smile to cover exhaustion, a yes to avoid conflict, a generosity that tries to prove our worth. But masks are heavy, and the longer you wear them, the harder it becomes to remember your own face. The real journey is not to throw away kindness, but to let it come from the real you. The you that can say yes and no with equal honesty. The you that is kind without disappearing. And maybe that's the highest form of kindness, to live fully as yourself, without erasing who you are, without performing, without constantly apologizing for existing. Because real compassion isn't about losing yourself. It's about truth. And that's the kind of kindness the world needs most. Not endless yeses, not silent suffering, but the courage to love without disappearing.